Hey guys, welcome to the Daily Word Bible Study, a simple, plain, book by book, chapter by chapter, verse by verse study through the entire Bible. Currently, we are in Psalm 107. Now, this is the scholars, have broken up the collection of Psalms, the 150 Psalms, into 5 books. So this is the last book. This is book 5. I don't get too much into that because if you want to study that, if you want to get more into why they do that, that's from the scholastic point of view. My interest is what are the Psalms saying, what is Scripture saying. But I just threw that in just as a little trivial. But this is the last book collection. So let's get into this. Psalm 107. All right, as you can see right there, book 5. Okay, book 5. All right, a little lengthy psalm as well. It says, "Give thanks to the Lord, for He is good." Now, let me just do a sidebar here. What does the word "good" mean? So, in other words, God has a standard of good, and you start with that. My definition of good may not be your definition of good, but all of our definitions of good should be God's standard. Now, if you go back to the book of Genesis, chapters 1, you see that after the creation, God looked and said, "It is good." We also see what was not good, the fall of man. Interesting enough, he says man being alone, meaning not having a companion, not having a wife, was not good. So God's standard of good is a lot different than our definition of good. To give thanks to the Lord, for He is good. His faithful love endures forever. And this statement again, this is the standard Old Testament definition or revelation or presentation of God. Man has come along, which was good, and rebranded God as the God of the God of wrath, the God of judgment. Now, He is a God of wrath. He is a God of judgment, but He is more the God, the God of love, and then He says His faithful love endures forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord proclaim that He has redeemed them from the hand of the foe, and has gathered them from the lands, from the east and the west, from the north and the south. Some wandered in desolate wilderness, finding no way to a city where they could live. They were hungry and thirsty. Their spirits failed within them. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble. He rescued them from their distress. So again, this is the way God should be presented. Yes, the judgment part, but remember that the judgment and the wrath comes because of man's rebellion, because of man's sin. Verse 7, He led them by the right path to go to a city where they could live. Let them give thanks to the Lord for His faithful love and His wonderful works for all humanity. For He has satisfied the thirsty, filled the hungry with good things. Others sat in darkness and gloom, prisoners in cruel chains, because they rebelled against God's commands, excuse me, and despised the counsel of the Most High. And I'll say just one word on that. One of the counsels was don't follow the wicked practices of the nations around you, which Israel did. Verse 11, because they rebelled against God's commands and despised the counsel of the Most High, He broke their spirits with hard labor. They stumbled, and there was no one to help. Then they cried out to the Lord in their troubles. He saved them. He saved them from their distress. Verse 14, He broke them out of darkness and gloom and broke their chains apart. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his faithful love and his wonderful works for all humanity. For he has broken down the bronze gates and cut through the iron gates. Fools suffer affliction because of their rebellious ways and their sins. Again, this is why you see the God of wrath. This is why you see the God of judgment. Not because he's just sitting up there mean, but because they rebel against him. They refuse to follow his ways. Verse 18, they loathed all food and came near to the gates of death. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble. He saved them from their distress. And I will say that every time people humble themselves before God, cry out to his mercy, notice this, he saves them. He hears. And on a sidebar note, just think about those who don't cry out. I'll give you two examples in the Bible. You think about the first king of Israel, Saul. He committed suicide. He never cried out for mercy. He never asked God for forgiveness. And another person in the New Testament was Judas. Judas realized he was wrong, but he never cried out for mercy. He never asked for forgiveness. He went and hung himself. Verse 20, he sent his word and healed them. He rescued them from the pit. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his faithful love and his wonderful works for all humanity. Let them offer sacrifice of thanksgiving and announce his works with shouts of joy. Others went to the sea in ships, conducting trade on the vast waters. They saw God's works, how wonderful works in the deep. He spoke and raised a tempest that stirred up the waves of the sea, rising up to the sky, sinking down to the depths, their courage melting away in anguish. They reeled and staggered like drunken men, and all of their skill was useless. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble, and he broke them out of their distress. He stilled the storm to a rumor, and the waves of the sea were hushed. They rejoiced when the waves grew quiet. Then he guided them to a harbor they longed for. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his faithful love and his wonderful works for all humanity. Let them exalt him in the assembly of the people, and praise him in the council of the elders. He turns rivers into desert, springs of water into thirsty ground, the fruitful land into salty wasteland, because of the wickedness of its inhabitants. He turns the desert into a pool of water, dry lands into springs of water. He causes the hungry to settle there, and they establish a city where they can live. They sow fields and plant vineyards that yield a fruitful harvest. He blessed them, and they multiplied greatly. He does not let their livestock decrease. When they diminish and are humbled by cruel oppression and sorrow, he pours contempt on the nobles. He makes them wander trackless in a trackless wasteland. But he lifts the needy out of their suffering and makes their family multiply like flocks. The upright see it and rejoice, and all injustice shuts its mouth. Let whoever is wise pay attention to these things and consider the Lord's acts of faithful love. Now, keep this in mind. He is saying this in the Old Testament when supposedly God is the God of wrath and the God of judgment. I think Satan was very smart in persuading the people, even God's people, that the Lord was this wrath, the God of wrath. All right, my screen is acting funny again, so I'm going to start reading. I'm going to start reading here from this because my screen is acting funny. All right, so I'm going to go to Psalm 108. Oh, okay. Screen is acting funny here. So let me do this. All right, let's see now if she's acting right. All right, she's back. Okay, my screen froze up for a moment. All right, this is Psalm 108. It says, "My heart is confident, God. I will sing praises with the whole of my being. Wake up, harp and lyre. I will wake up the dawn. I will praise you, Lord, among the peoples. I will sing praises to you among the nations. For your faithful love is higher than the heavens, and your faithfulness reach to the clouds. God, be exalted above the heavens, and let your glory be over the whole earth. Save, save with your right hand and answer me, so that those you love may be rescued. God has spoken in his sanctuary. I will triumph. I will divide up Shechem, and I will apportion in the valley of Succoth. Gilead, Gilead is mine, Manasseh is mine, and Ephraim is my helmet. Judah is my scepter. Now you will notice, even in these descriptions here, Judah is always the scepter. Okay, Moab is my wash basin. I throw my sandals on Edom, and I shout triumph over Philistia. Now it's kind of interesting. You kind of see the difference in some of the tribes of Israel, and then some of the surrounding nations right here. Like Moab is a wash basin. He throws his sandals on Edom. These nations were wicked people, so don't think God is being cruel. Who will bring me to the fortified city? Who will lead me to Edom? God, haven't you rejected us? God, you do not march out with our enemies. Give us aid against our foes. For humanity helps. Give us aid against the foe, for human help is worthless. With God, we will perform violently. He will trample our foes. Now, if anything is true right here, humanity help sometimes is you cannot rely on man. Uh, all right, Psalm 109. God of my praise, do not be silent. For wicked and deceitful mouths open against me. They speak against me with lying tongues. They surround me with hateful words and attack me without cause. In return for my love, they accuse me, but I continue to pray. They repay me evil for good and hatred for my love. Set a wicked person over him. Let an accuser stand at his right hand. When he is judged, let him be found guilty, and let his prayer be counted as sin. Let his days be few. Let another take his position. Now, this again is a prophecy concerning Judas. Okay? Verse 9, let his children be fatherless, and his wife over it all. Let his children wander as beggars, searching for food from their demolished homes. Let a creditor seize all he has, let a stranger plunder what he has worked for. Let no one show him kindness. Let no one be gracious to his fatherless children. Now, let me just say this again. Oh, let me read this here. Let the line of his descendants be cut off, and let their names be blotted out in the next generation. Let his ancestors' guilt be remembered before the Lord, and do not let his mother's sins be blotted out. Let their sins always remain before the Lord, and let him erase all memory of them from the earth. Now, remember in the New Testament, we wouldn't pray this. We wouldn't pray this in the New Testament. In fact, we do the opposite. When Jesus said, and this is why this was so striking to the apostles, when Jesus says, pray for your enemies. Bless your enemies. Bless those that curse you. Well, you see the sentiment sometimes here. That's why we wouldn't pray this. All right, verse 15. Verse 16. For he did not think to show kindness or pursue the afflicted, poor, and brokenhearted in order to put them to death. He loved cursing. Let it fall upon him. He took no delight in blessings. Let it be far from him. He wore cursing like his coat. Let it enter his body like a water, and go into his bones like oil. Let it be like robes he wrapped around himself. Let a belt he always wears. Let his let this be the Lord's payment to my accusers, to those who speak evil against me. But you, Yahweh, my Lord, deal kindly with me because of your name. Deliver me because of your goodness of your faithful love, for I am afflicted and needy. My heart is wounded within me. I fade away like a lightning, like a lengthening shadow. I am shaken off like locusts. My knees are weak from fasting, and my body is emaciated. I have become an object of ridicule to my accusers, and when they see me, they shake their heads in scorn. Now, this could be also a kind of a small um, um, prophecy, just this statement here in terms of how the Pharisees treated Jesus on the cross. Remember, they shook their heads, they mocked him. Verse 26. Help me, Lord, my God, save me according to your faithful love, so they may know that this is your hand in all you do. Lord, let me read verse 27 again. So they may know that this is your hand and that you, Lord, have done it. Though they curse, you will bless. When they rise up, they will be put to shame, but your servants will rejoice. My accusers will be clothed with disgrace, and they will wear their shame like a cloak. I will fervently thank the Lord with my mouth. I will praise him in the presence of many, for he stands at the right hand of the needy to save him from those who would condemn him. Okay, Psalm 110. It says, "This is the declaration to my Lord. Sit at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool." Now, of course, this is a direct prophecy of Jesus, right? In fact, Jesus even said this. He questioned the Pharisees once. He said, whose son is David?" Or who it and I think he said, "Well, the Messiah." And I think Jesus said something to the effect, "Well, if David, if the son," I'm butchering here what Jesus said right here, but he kind of quotes this when he says it's something to the effect that if David is the father, right? In other words, the heir of the throne, then why does the Lord said to David, "Sit at my right hand until I make your enemies thy footstool"? And he asked him, and I know I just totally butchered that, but he said, "Who is David then?" And why did the Lord saying this when he said this declaration of the Lord said, "Sit at my right hand to make your enemies thy footstool"? So kind of forget that because I just butchered this completely. Butchered this. Okay. But this is a prophecy of what Jesus said right here. Verse 2 says, "The Lord will extend your mighty scepter from Zion, rule over your surrounding enemies. Your people will volunteer on the day of battle. The holy splendor from the womb of the dawn. The dew of your youth belongs to you. The Lord has sworn an oath and will not take it back. Forever you are a priest like Melchizedek." And again, the book of Hebrews uses this exact statement to show that the priesthood of Jesus go beyond and is superior to not only the Moses and the Levitical law, but also to Melchizedek. Melchizedek is a figure that appears after the um, um, when Abraham fought and got back Lot. Melchizedek meets him, and then um, um, I'm trying. Melchizedek, no, Melchizedek blesses Abraham. So then the question becomes, who, which one is the great? What the greater one is the one who bestows the blessing, and the lesser receives the blessing. So now, when he says that, so you got this guy named Melchizedek, and he only appears in scriptures in that one instance. So in other words, he's saying that his priesthood was like unto Jesus. So he comes along and he says that if Melchizedek blesses Abraham, and we know that Abraham is the father of the Jewish nation, right? So Abraham up here, right? Well, Jesus is greater than Melchizedek, right? So if you are a priest like, so in other words, Jesus is greater than Melchizedek. So in other words, his priesthood is greater, but this is a prophecy and a direct prophecy concerning Jesus. Verse 5, the Lord is at your right hand. He will crush kings on the day of his anger. He will judge the nations, heaping up corpses. He will crush leaders over the entire world, and he will drink from the brook of the road by the road. Therefore, he will lift up his head. All right, sorry about me butchering my recollection here, the memory of what he had said. All right, guys, look, don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP, excuse me, the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add to the comment section below. All comments are welcome. I will see you in the next study.